So, lads, today we are going to be talking about something that I think is kind of important to talk about in the grand scheme of things in the WNBA, because this is a big time, and I mean big time, news for the expansion draft, for free agency, and it is a sign that, teams are working in the background. I think a lot of people are thinking that, oh no, teams probably aren't working in the background, teams free agency hasn't started yet, so they've only got a few days to go. But nah, this is as much as anything proof that teams are working in the background. But before we get on to that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit 57,850 subscribers by the end of the day. Trying to get the 58k by the expansion draft, which is next week. And we're going to be covering a lot of expansion draft content. However, now we have got what looks to be the first domino of the expansion draft. And obviously, the team that is taking first in the expansion draft is Portland Fire. The team that's taking first of the two teams in the WNBA draft is the Toronto Tempo. Again, is it the biggest deal in the world going down one pick? I don't think so. I really don't. I think we're pretty okay in general when it comes to a lot of these picks. I think that the difference between 6 and 7 could be the difference between taking Tanya Latz and Flaw J. Johnson, who are both probably seen as a very similar level prospects. So I don't really think that makes that much of a difference. However, it appears that the Toronto Tempo are looking towards getting Bridget Carleton, whether it be in the expansion draft or free agency. I'm not 100% sure, but this was expected by a lot of people. I think a lot of people expected Carleton to be going to the Tempo. Why? Because the Tempo are a team in Canada, and it makes the most sense for them to get the best Canadian player. It just does. It makes the most sense for the team in Canada to get a Canadian. It makes way more sense than people predicting Sophie Cunningham, because Sophie Cunningham sells tickets. I just want to make this very clear. Sophie Cunningham does not sell tickets. Sophie Cunningham, what she does is she'll get you some social media clicks. She doesn't sell tickets. Players that sell tickets in the WNBA, even to an extent, depending on the game, Angel Reese to an extent. Angel Reese does sell tickets. Not quite Caitlin Clark level. But like individuals that if they show up on your team will start selling tickets is probably Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Is that it? Is that it? Really? Like, I mean that. I could be honest here. It could only be those players that actually like truly sell tickets. But at the same time, if you're Toronto Tempo, you might want a feel-good player to have in there. And that's where you bring in the Canadian player. That's you bring in the player from your country in the first team in Canada. And not only that, if you haven't seen. So a couple of days ago, Bridget Carleton on Instagram took Minnesota Lynx out of her bio. So she took the team out of her bio, with obviously the implication being there's no guarantee of her being a member of the Minnesota Lynx. Not only did she take the Minnesota Lynx out of her bio, yesterday, the Toronto Tempo president, Tessa Resch, followed Bridget Carleton on Instagram. Shout out to all the Instagram detectives showing all of these, finding out all of these things. And it seems like this is the obvious path that they're going towards. And it makes so much sense. Like, it makes so much, and I mean so much sense to do this, lads. It never made, like, the Sophie Cunningham one made no sense. There's no feel-good factor about bringing Sophie Cunningham in. Okay, you might get some social media notoriety, but there's no feel-good factor of bringing in a Canadian player. There's no, obviously that is a negative, not having, like, it's a positive. There are going to be people that are going to be pissed off at you having Sophie Cunningham, which you don't want to do as an expansion franchise, especially one in Canada. You don't really want things not to be 100% positive, because again, things can go south real quick. And I don't think we realize how quick things actually have the ability to go south for an expansion team. Just because the Valkyries went so well does not mean that all these other teams are going to go well. That being said, you would hope that the Toronto Tempo can pull it off and do a good job when it comes down to it, but there's no guarantee of it. And they have the money to pay her whatever she wants. That's another thing people don't realize, is that the Toronto Tempo have infinite cap space. Like, they can give Bridget Carleton a supermax and give another player a max. Bridget Carleton might just say, you know what, take me in the expansion draft, I'll sign no matter what. And whatever free agent they might sign. Like the UFA, like last year, the Valks took Monique Billings in the expansion draft. And this is what people don't remember. They took Monique Billings in the expansion draft, and they didn't even give her they didn't core her. So they took Monique Billings in the expansion draft and gave her a lower contract. Like, Monique Billings did not have to join. She did not have to join the Toronto or the Golden State Valkyries last year. She chose to join the Valkyries. Monique Billings did that by choice. It wasn't like she got cored. If she got cored, you don't have a choice. If she didn't, she chose. So now you've got a situation in Bridget Carleton where the expectation is that she's going to want to play for the Toronto Tempo, because obviously she can go back to Canada, and she instantly becomes the face of the franchise. It's one of those things where if you sign a local hero, that does matter, especially in the first year where you're probably going to be shit. Like, I'm sorry, the Golden State Valkyries, were an exception to the rule. The Golden State Valkyries realized that so many WNBA teams had really undervalued players because of whether it be poor coaching, whether it be poor scouting. They had a lot of really undervalued players waiting in the wings to be just taken unprotected. That's not going to happen this time around. There's not that many players. Nearly everybody's UFA, other than young players. So it becomes really, really difficult for these teams to sign these free agents, these teams to sign every expansion draft. I actually only think the expansion draft is teams are going to take 3 to 4 players in the expansion draft. That is my prediction. I think we're only going to see 3 to 4 players taken per team in the expansion draft. So, what do you guys think in general, though? Do you guys agree with this point? Do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Or do you guys think of what I'm saying is completely nonsense? Do you guys think, they're not going to take an expansion draft, they're going to take Sophie Cunningham, who is worse than Bridget Carleton, no offense to Sophie Cunningham, worse than Bridget Carleton, not Canadian, and will be less of a factor in putting butts in seats? And not only that, they've already sold all their season tickets anyway. They're an expansion team in Canada. They don't need more hype, to be honest. They don't need more hype. But anyway, that's the video. I'll see you guys.